in the Cover 3 Tailgate. And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Cannell. I'm Chip Patterson, coming to you live at youtube.com/Cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where the Renaissance Gamer got in before the show started, and he seems to understand the assignment because, yes, if you clicked on this episode, either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, you see that we are continuing our series, If Vegas is Right. Renaissance Gamer on YouTube says those 8.5 teams, teams with win totals of 8.5, LSU, Texas A&M, and Alabama are going to be pissed if those come to pass. Yeah, we've got a fascinating show ahead as we take a look, really, not for our picks for these win totals as much as understanding what they say about the teams, what the expectation is for the season ahead. And yes, like our astute viewer notes, what fans are going to say if those expectations are right. So if Vegas is right, getting us rocking and rolling here. How's everybody doing today? I'm not overflowing with news. Did I miss anything? I'm not trying to be funny about that, but
T-ball win last night, so that was quality.
Okay. That's good.
Huddy got a hit.
Let's go.
Liam has recognized you can go into the Game Changer app and that he is the number one hitter in the league, and Hudson is literally dead last. And so he has been reminding his little brother of this delta. And he actually got a hit off a pitched ball and hit it like all the way to third base and then tried to run to third base. Made it to first and then had I kid you not, I turn around and still coach third base. He's crying in the dugout. And we're changing innings. I'm like, what happened? He goes, somebody pulled my hair. And I was like, I had seen him trying to like fight against him. Like, was the hair pull around when you were taking your helmet off? Yeah.
Was it a helmet?
So he pulled his own. Yeah. We had a 2-inning injury.
Listen, it's like that sometimes. You got to learn your lessons along the way, one way or another. If y'all are cool with it, I think we just go ahead and dive right in. Does that sound good?
Do it.
First category that I want to get to: coaches under pressure. Okay, these are from the idea. Now, in the comment as we came into the show, LSU, we'll talk about them with some of our first-year hires. Texas A&M's an interesting one. I don't think Mike Elko's under pressure, though, right?
No.
Okay, that was one that was a little bit of a limbo, and obviously we can get into that when we talk about SEC championship odds coming up a little bit later. But let's begin with the Alabama Crimson Tide, a popular topic here on the Cover 3 podcast this week. We talked about their high-profile quarterback battle, but I also seem to sense that all four of us feel like this is one of the better situations among the quarterback battles. What about this number? What does this tell you about this team, Tom, as you're starting to look at Alabama ahead in 2026?
It tells me two things. One, the SEC is more difficult than it has been because there are more teams in it. You've added Texas and Oklahoma, and just the way things are working now with scheduling agreements where they have to play the non-conference game. You've got another P4 non-conference, which is Florida State again, this time at home. That it's harder to win a lot of games like you would be used to. But it also tells me, as far as Alabama is concerned, that it's not Nick Saban's Alabama anymore in the eyes of the sports books, or just in reality, in that they aren't just going to dominate everybody. And you look at their schedule and you can see why 8.5 is a realistic kind of win total for them. Now, you've got them in the coaches under pressure category. If they go under and they finish 8-4, I do feel like that is a lot of pressure on Kalen DeBoer. Now, it might matter who they lose to, but I don't feel like you could find many Alabama fans who are like, would be okay with losing to Georgia, LSU, A&M, Auburn, whoever it is that you end up losing to. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. You're going to have a new quarterback. You are in the third year since replacing Saban. You got to the playoff last year. You won a game, and you got killed in the other. You haven't won the league. You've been kind of embarrassed by Georgia in the SEC championship. You were embarrassed by Indiana in the Rose Bowl. Like, I feel like I want to win a lot of games this year if I'm Kalen DeBoer, because they might not give him a year 4.
Yeah, I don't think you can find 4 acceptable losses.
That's what I was going to say. If you're 8-4, like, that schedule's not that hard.
And your Dogs what? Twice?
Right.
Hosting Georgia and at LSU?
You might be Dogs at Tennessee. You don't know. Possibly.
Yeah, I think it's possible. And if A&M somehow levels up like crazy or something, but like it's very difficult to see them being Dogs like at Kentucky, hosting FSU, hosting South Carolina, at Mississippi State, at Vandy without Pavia, Chattanooga, or hosting Auburn. So, I think if you go 8-4, it's uncomfortable because you have made probably in the mind of Bama fans like 2 pretty unforgivable slip-ups.
I think that we saw that a silver bullet win does not exist because Kalen DeBoer seemingly had it against Georgia, and it did not at all change the conversation. Like they collapsed down the stretch. They had the loss against Oklahoma. They fell short of the college football playoff. They come back the next year. They lose in Florida State to the opener. And my, oh my, how whatever happiness there was from beating Georgia almost a little bit less than a year prior wasn't worth anything. That lady was sitting outside that gas station talking about winning the lottery to be able to buy out the athletic director and the head coach. So I kind of think that, to your point, 4 acceptable losses, and also because with some teams, we do think about, but what are the wins? Do they jump up and grab somebody and it's just such an impressive or important win that it can offset maybe an embarrassing loss? This is an Alabama team that, as I see it, in the eyes of the fans, cannot take embarrassing losses and needs to split its 4 toughest games, probably need to go 2-2 in
right.
That.
Definitely.
So if your goal is to avoid the slip-ups, do you think that puts a greater chance that Mac is the quarterback because he's a little bit more of a known commodity?
Do you think Kalen thinks like that? And I'm not trying to like criticize.
No, I don't. Because I think Kalen's a really good head coach. And if for some reason Bama was to fire him, I think he'd get picked up like that. Because I think all the other administrators out there with some sense about him would be like, all right, Bama's edge is gone, right? Because they're not some like tremendous innovator in the NIL space. I mean, they were behind, which is probably why Nick left. Like they still have a talent edge over most teams, but not such an egregious one, to Tom's point about like the, kind of the tightening of the league. And like, I don't think people fear Alabama anymore. That's not, in my opinion, really Kalen's fault. I don't think that Nick Saban would have done a better job in the last 2 years than Kalen DeBoer would have done, personally, given the resources and whatnot. And like the fact that he had a lot of good people fleeing his staff. And I think those staffs at the end of the Saban era were not great. So no, I don't think he thinks like that. He probably thinks, hey, I'm trying to win game 12 and game 13.
Which still could be Mac.
Sure.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
We don't. The other thing that's interesting too, 8-4, I do agree with Bud, but we almost saw him run out of town last year. And it was even, this Michigan job opens, is he like that whole conversation, Penn State, his name comes up. I do think he'd be a hot commodity on the open market. And at 8-4, Bama probably would be willing to broker a deal and a buyout and say, all right, yeah, take him.
So do you think, I wonder if a little bit of that was orchestrated to send a message to Alabama and be like, hey, you don't like me? These teams that spend more than you do on players, they like me a whole lot, right? And yet I'm choosing to stay here because I believe in what we're trying to build together.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot speak for Penn State's leadership. I do remember Penn State fans putting on Auburn gear for that Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know how much Penn State was truly in the hunt and ready to back it up. Tom, can you speak to that one?
There were plenty of people who were in power at Penn State who were very much in line with going after Kalen DeBoer. How how mutual the interest ever was, couldn't tell you.
Yeah, or how much of that was orchestrated, as Bud mentioned, to be able to, sort of stir the pot a little bit. Okay, outside of the quarterback, as we look at this team, what are some areas that you are interested in? They can be individual players, they could be a position group, or they could be a little bit general. What are going to be some spots to be able to help Alabama get on the other side of this? Because this is a very, very interesting read that we're like, oh my gosh, if it's 8-4, disaster town. What's the what are the spots that need to happen? Offensive line, run game.
But yeah, I think that goes together. But a lot of people were looking at the running backs. I do think the offensive line was just as big as a problem. So I think that's going to be key. And, that's been a big conversation around Ty Simpson and his, draft conversation is, he didn't have a great offensive line, didn't have a great run game with a first-year starting quarterback. And I know Ty Simpson was too, but you're going to want to take some of that pressure off his shoulders.
What I love about that conversation, by the way, Dan, is that people will talk about how Ty Simpson didn't have a great offensive line, and then those same people will be mocking his left tackle in the same first round that they're picking him to get drafted in.
Right.
It was a weird, season. I mean, he was terrible against FSU. He was playing in cement. And then for much of the rest of the year, he had pretty good performances. I don't know what was up in that game, but
it was his first start, wasn't it?
No, he started the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah, the USF game.
Because he's an early entry, right? So he's a 2-year starter.
Yeah.
Because the whole Iowa thing was after his freshman year.
No.
I was talking about Simpson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
See, there we go. All right, we're sharp here. Okay,
yeah,
we're not gonna let this go too far down the line. We're talking about two different players here. One is Caden Proctor, feet in cement, early entry, starter from the moment he showed up at Tuscaloosa. It was for Ty Simpson, the beginning of the Ty Simpson era.
Yes.
Did he start the South Florida game? Or was it him? And
I think so. And then he got benched right away.
Yes, because that was the whole
Jalen Milroe thing.
Jalen Milroe sit on the side and you learn something in the rain, boy.
Man.
Nick Saban walking wet as a dog through that tunnel. I was that boy's got to retire. For who? For what? This game was miserable. You're talking about Caden Proctor, feet in cement, right?
Yes.
And I thought that Ty Simpson, I think if I remember, we correctly went back and upon review, we're like, they weren't bad decisions. They were just off. Am I correct? It was
just a little late.
Yeah. Okay. The Ty Simpson NFL draft.
Buckner started the USF game. The chat is correcting us. It was.
But they all three played though, right?
Yeah, and it was awful.
Yeah.
Or it was just Simpson that played. It was just those two. Jalen Milroe did not play.
But the individuals on Alabama's offensive line on paper, just even beyond Caden Proctor, you would think would have led to more production.
Yes, they also got a new offensive line coach, so we'll see how that works.
Are we feel good about Tide defense?
I do. Yeah, I think they'll be pretty solid there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Talented. I don't feel like monsters, but it doesn't feel like it's a weakness.
Yeah, but who has monsters up and down the D line anymore?
I don't know if they do.
I mean, no, but who else? We almost have to, much to Tom's point, but we have to judge in this new reality. I think specifically there.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's got some dudes. Oregon.
Oregon. Yeah.
You can't accumulate them though.
Right.
Right. You can't have 2 or 3 massive D tackles anymore.
21 Georgia stuff is dead. That's not coming back. You just can't afford to have, a D line room that's making $14 million.
That's true. Yep. Okay. Anything else on Alabama before we keep this moving? Nothing.
Does 9-3 get them in
to the playoff?
I don't think so.
I don't
know.
With that schedule,
right?
I don't think the schedule's that. I think the Florida State weakness hurts them.
Yeah.
It's not a great win potentially. We'll see.
It's a win total of 4.5 for the Noles.
Right. So if you beat a 4-8 or a 5-7 Florida State team, that's not boosting your strength of schedule.
If you're 9-3, you either lost to the 3 best teams you played,
Right.
which is probably a good argument that you're not playoff caliber, or I think alternatively, hey, we had a slip up. Now we're playing much better. We lost to 2 playoff caliber teams, probably in close games. Who are your resume builders on this necessarily? Like, who have a shot to be ranked?
I think
like
LSU, Tennessee, Texas A&M,
and Georgia.
That middle stretch is where you have to get your quality wins.
Right. Like, I don't think Vanderbilt has a great shot to be ranked. What's South Carolina's total? I need to actually look at this. But
it's actually coming up next, 6.5.
Look at that. Right. Okay. So
because that's a coach under pressure if I've ever seen one.
With probably pretty limited upward mobility. Same thing for Mississippi State. Like I would lay a pretty big price that like Mississippi State and South Carolina are not ranked teams at the end of the year.
Correct.
And probably the same can be said for Auburn. So you may lack, like Bama might run into this scenario in which they lack that win in that like kind of 18 to others receiving votes range, you know?
As always, the thing about a 12-team playoff is you got to find 12 teams to put it in it. We don't know what the bubble's going to look like. You know, does 9-3 get them in? I think 9-3 as Alabama likely has them in the conversation. So, I would make the playoff. Certainly, if I was Kalen DeBoer, more than anything, I would make sure that I don't go 8-4.
We also don't know, like, does the SEC lose the benefit of the doubt now?
Right.
You know, 3 Big Ten champions in a row. SEC in the playoff has not been anything special. I don't know.
Strength of schedule, though.
I know. I just, you know,
it's harder to argue strength of schedule with the playoff results, though.
I don't know, Bud.
It's the grind, Bud. I mean,
yeah. No, like I still think that they probably up and down on average have the most challenging schedule.
Agreed.
But I think in that room, I'm curious, like how much narrative carries. We know the voice some of these coaches carry.
Yep, that's for sure. Well, we will judge the selection committee when it's time to judge the selection committee. The standard has been set high by one of the Mount Rushmore of selection committees, the group in 2025. South Carolina, we just mentioned it, over under win total of 6.5. I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong. That's a coach under pressure, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Very much so.
So what does this say? Dylan Stewart, by the way, has been a little banged up. That ain't great.
I mean, they've already lost 1 tackle.
Yeah, we're losing tackles left and right.
They've lost 2. 1 they're hoping they'll get back. Like, but there's one that they've already said is gone for the year, and that was one of their big transfer gets. The offensive line was not great last year. Lenore Sellers spends so much time running for his life, which, I mean, that's kind of his strength at this point. Defensively, you just mentioned Stewart's banged up. I don't know, man. Like, this is – you look at the schedule and you think, all right, they should get to a bowl maybe. But I don't know if South Carolina getting to a bowl will be enough for Shane Beamer at this point, because I felt like, you know, they were very close to the playoff 2 years ago. Last year, they took a tremendous step backward. And you could kind of feel like there's a reason he's on the hot seat. You felt like there were people that were ready to move on last year. So unless they take another kind of big step forward again, I don't know what they can really do to save it. And I don't know that it's fair. I do think that sometimes, you know, that 9-3 season where they were on the precipice of an at-large could kind of, you know, lead to unrealistic expectations.
Or that was the one.
Yeah, that might have been the year.
That was supposed to be your peak season, and you were like 1 win away from being able to cash it in, which to me, fair or not, for South Carolina is a playoff appearance in this modern era.
I mean, this is 15 months ago, another one of these unnecessary extension raise. Let's raise the buyout pieces. Your buyout's sitting at what, 29 after this year?
You say 29?
Yeah, it's sorry, no, 27.9. Excuse me.
That's not. Yeah,
that wasn't a huge.
No, that's a one. Look at these rich guys. 1.1 million is nothing to Chip and Danny.
I mean. But I've been sitting here, no reason, but like Nate Oates' buyout drops from $18 to $10 million on April 1st. And you're telling me Shane Beamer is almost 3x the Nate Oates buyout?
That is the difference.
I do notice that North Carolina fires Hubert and suddenly Chip's back to wearing North Carolina gear.
No, this is standing in solidarity. It's a tough day for the Carolina family. There's nothing joyous about the dismissal of Hubert Davis.
I think the win total for South Carolina tells you we finally got some realistic expectations. Like last year, Lenora Sellers was going to be a top 10 pick. It was like, oh, the future is there. They still did. They had Texas A&M beat, collapse there. That doesn't help, especially when Shane Beamer's mocking the fans. He's going in the tunnel, and then you blow the lead. They played Alabama tough for a couple years in a row. Like, I think they could over-exceed, but I think that's probably where they should be perceived. 7 wins is solid. I think it depends on who you beat. Can they get one of those signature wins? Can they beat one of the teams that are 8 or 9 wins above them? That's probably the question is can you get one of those big dogs that, or can you beat Clemson at the end of the year?
You look at that schedule, and it's like,
if your seventh win is Clemson, you're probably safe.
Mm-hmm. But like, they have a very manageable home slate, all things considered. Like, they should win. If you're anything like you think you're trying to be, you have to win those first 5 home games. And then once you get to A&M and Georgia, you see what you can do.
We'll know if he's fired before Halloween.
That probably, yes.
Because, like, to me, it comes down to Mississippi State, Kentucky. You need to win those 2 home games. And
what does it look like versus Bama and Georgia? If they're close, I think that helps.
I mean, if you're the AD at South Carolina, it's South Carolina. And I know the brand stuff matters less than ever. I mean, we know that in Tallahassee all too well, but it's not like you're spending like those big boys either. So, like, if you lose by 100 to Bama and Georgia, cool. You know what? I'll spend 100. Like that same track record for 100 years. Like, to me, that should not factor in your decision. It's like, are you in year 5 of Beamer? Are you ahead of these upstarts that just had to fire their coach and make a change? Either immediately or recently.
They did just fire their baseball coach. Maybe the AD's just in a groove right now. Maybe he's like in a trigger pulling kind of guy.
Maybe he's safe because they're going to have to worry about pumping money into the baseball program.
Also possible.
We do have some like Arkansas protocols over there in Columbia. Mm-hmm. We got to make sure Diamond eats too. So
there also is a pretty good bit of uncertainty for some of the programs they play on the back half of this schedule that have win totals higher than the Gamecocks. But like, it's not crazy to think that one of those teams could even miss a bowl, right? Like, a couple things go wrong. Florida, Tennessee, Oklahoma, A&M. It's not that hard to spiral and be a lot worse than we think.
That's to fall down to where I'm imagining this. All right, last piece here on the Gamecocks. What are the expectations for Lenora Sellers?
Kendall Brow's offense. They got what's his name in there running the offensive line now, who's the longtime Brow's guy. It's a pretty quick and easy offense to learn. We've seen that multiple times. Like, it's not something that takes 2 years to master. It can mask some offensive line problems. I think he'll probably put up pretty good numbers in it.
It's going to be runner shots.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of plays to his strengths, honestly. Shots down the field or take off running.
Totally, actually.
Last one here for Coach Under Pressure. And again, this is another one where I'd like to just sort of test it with the group. Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State, our win total is 4.5. That seems fair. But is it fair to Jeff Lebby? If you were advising Mississippi State's athletic department, what needs to happen? Is that a fair hot seat analysis?
I mean, I don't know that Lebby specifically should get a ton of leeway, but I think at a job like Mississippi State, you probably should just, if you've done some things like, let's make an outside the box hire, let's run a system that not everybody else runs, let's try to do things a little bit differently, kind of moneyball it. That kind of thing could take some time. Not like the implementation of the offensive system, but he's also a first-time head coach. Maybe the guy's learning on the job some. I don't know. Like, if they go 4-8, I'm sure they're not real happy, but like, I don't know that a lot of people are like jumping to take that job who you'd actually want to get.
Am I the only one who's excited about Kamario Taylor?
No, very excited.
No. Okay.
Is he still limited for spring?
I haven't checked up on that, but my expectation is that he's going to be good for the fall. I don't have any reason to have a health concern, but keep that. Don't delete that off your spreadsheet. We'll continue to check up on that. But the skill there and the potential in an up-tempo offense to be a real game breaker and a playmaker. Like that to me, when I start to think about, all right, so what's the positive? What are you selling me on for Mississippi State? What are you selling me on for Jeff Lebby? Is that Jeff Lebby found a player who he might be able to develop into a really, really fun and electric quarterback. Now, how many wins does that translate to? It's a bigger question, but specifically, I'm excited about Kamario Taylor in the Mississippi State offense.
See, I don't know if the win total matters as much as it's like they improved from 2-10 to 5-8 last year, whatever, 5-7, whatever their final record was. So they improved by 3 wins, but the bigger problem was they went from 0-8 in the SEC to 1-7. You only won 1 conference game in your first 2 years, and you lost by an average of 12 points per game. So you weren't really all that competitive in conference. Like, if they finish 4-8 under, but they pick up a couple of wins in the SEC, or they're just more competitive in SEC games, I think Jeff Lebby is fine. Now, if they're going 0-8 in conference again and getting blown out every week, then you might see a change.
You know what else game is big is that week 2 at Minnesota.
That's
like that's one that could sort of set the tone for the season. And if you won that game and you stole South Carolina, then you're playing with house money. Then you're thinking it's going to be a great year, and it still could be at 5 or 6 wins. Could be a great year.
Yeah, Mississippi State, South Carolina, week 3 is a sneaky hot seat game.
Yeah, big time. I do think Beamer's under more pressure than Lebby, though, because he's only in year 3.
Going back to last year, though, let's not forget Mississippi State in week 2 beat Arizona State, who was like a top 15 team at the time.
Good point.
Then the wheels completely fell off once they got to conference play. So I don't even know if beating Minnesota on the road is going to do that much for you if you go into SEC play and get your skull caved in again.
They were up 24 against Texas, too, though. That's where I think they were just a much better team last year. But does that translate to wins this year? Remains to be seen.
And
one thing we've not met, or sorry, Chip, go ahead.
Oh, well, if you on Mississippi State, Zach Arnett's return, was that what you were about to mention?
No, I was going to mention that we should have prefaced more, I think, to start the show, the first year of the 9-game schedule.
Ooh. I'm just so used to everybody else playing a big boy schedule and, actually coming out here. But that would hint to why all of the win totals are a little bit lower.
Yeah, and not every SEC team would schedule 4 automatic wins, but some of them would, pretty often. And if you're one of those teams that did, and now you got to go do this, this is more challenging. You have to play a real team in the non-conference. You also have to play an additional SEC game.
I will say off the top of my head, you mentioned the Arizona State game. Mississippi State seems to get a good, decent power conference home and home on the schedule most years.
Yeah.
They and not always, they're not trying to go knock on the door of, I'm trying to think about what they're not knocking on the door of Ohio State and being like, hey guys, but they do a good job of sort of scanning a somewhat similar opponent in another conference. Mississippi State normally giving us one of those early in the year. What do you make of Zach Arnett's return?
I mean, I like the combination. If you're going to play that up tempo on offense, play a style that either gets your defense off the field because he gets a turnover or a negative play and forces a punt fast, or a style that, hey, like maybe we're going to set the tone early and know we're going to need a whole lot of points today.
Remember, for those who don't remember, he was the defensive coordinator under Mike Leach. When Mike Leach passed, he was promoted to head coach. Did not go well, so he was fired. He's been an analyst for a couple of years. He did not even get one full season as Mississippi State's head coach back in 2023. So he makes his return. There was a reason, why they wanted to trust him with the program. We'll see if he'll be able to help them out along the way. Coming up on the other side, we turn our attention to the first-year head coaches, the win totals, and what it means for LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, Auburn, Kentucky, and Arkansas, and more. Next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ hits every highlight from all the sports that matter to you.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, streaming free 24/7.
Joey in the tailgate called it out as we are back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Yes, Tom, I am wearing this in solidarity for the Carolina family, but but also because it's a sweet new home field hoodie, and we're excited about starting to have some conversations, starting to get things going with home field apparel. They make great stuff, and we'll be sure to have a lot more information for you coming up in the weeks ahead. All right, let's keep it going with the first year hires. We'll start at the top with LSU. Lane Kiffin takes over in Baton Rouge, and he's got an 8.5 as the win total. The expectations, I think that as soon as he was hired, are understood. This is LSU, and you are Lane Kiffin. You make this hire for a reason. 7-5 ain't acceptable in any single season. You go and you spend all this money. Hey, Danny, how much money did Brian Kelly say it was?
Close to $50 million.
Yeah, and that was on your show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let you take first word here. I mean,
and it was a similar because we've had the conversation about how do you feel if you're Mac Brown and you get shown the door and you were asking for money, but all of a sudden they come in and give it to the next coach. Like you're like, well, I could have done that, I think that's what Brian Kelly was kind of alluding to. He's like, man, I could have done a lot better with that roster as well, even though he's given pretty good resources. But man, Lane Kiffin better go over this win total.
Yeah.
And like maybe significantly over it, because if they're 8-4, that honeymoon is over in a hurry. And if they're 9-3, the honeymoon might be over in a hurry. It depends on who those losses are to. But the expectations are sky high, as we've discussed with that roster. And oh boy, you better win at Ole Miss, because my goodness, what that would look like, oh my goodness, would be an absolute disaster. But Lane's his social media presence is always fun when you're winning. Man, I could imagine his comments if he starts, if it starts off 8-4. My goodness, that gets uncomfortable in a hurry.
They do play a lot of teams on this schedule that I would project to be worse than they were in 25.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Clemson worse. Ole Miss, I don't know if they're way worse, but I don't think they're going to be like better than they were last year, just with what they lost. I think A&M is worse. Kentucky is probably not, but I'm not really sure it matters. Mississippi State, again, I think they're the same level team. They just added an SEC game and a real non-conference game. So, Auburn is probably somewhat better, but I don't know how much better. Bama, are they better? They just kind of, maybe they're better, but I don't think they're like worlds better. Maybe they are. Texas is better. Tennessee, you think Tennessee's a lot better this year than we were last year?
No.
I guess it's theoretically possible, but it's not clear to me here on March 25th that they are. And Arkansas, probably a similar level of team, I would think. So they're getting favored in a lot of games. A lot of this comes down to the young guys on defense. Do they step up and really make a difference? And we talked about Richard Anderson coming off the Under Armour game, how for a guy that size, and clearly he has some bad weight to lose, but his ability to play that many snaps with that kind of effort and not all of a sudden stand up and get washed because your legs are dead. I think Richard Anderson is going to play 30 snaps a game in the SEC from day one. And then do the offensive line transfers hit? Oh, also, is Levitt healthy? And can he stay healthy? That's another kind of big question mark there.
What do y'all think?
We've kind of touched on it. 9-3 will be good. 9-3 might get you in the playoff. I don't think 9-3 is what they're paying for. I think that getting to the playoff is really more important than the win total. I think that's why you make that move. That's why you spend all that money. That's why you get Brian Kelly out. You go after Lane Kiffin. You cause all that drama. You want to be in the college football playoff. Lane was in the college football playoff, and he left for LSU because he feels that you have a better shot to win national titles at LSU than you do at Ole Miss. So you better get into the damn field, because LSU hasn't been in too long for LSU fans. So I don't think it's a situation where if he's not there in year one, hot seat. But I suggest getting there in year one.
Is there a wins per million that we can get going? Like I need to be able to judge this out. Okay, so this many $1 million and this many wins. Can you hit this ratio? Then we can consider it a successful season. Brian Kelly, for the record, did have a number 1 transfer portal class last season. He also said, well, we don't buy players a couple years ago, which, and didn't always go over great because clearly the appetite in Baton Rouge is we don't care what it costs. We don't care what you got to do it. You field a national champion.
Yeah, the children's hospital's like, you don't, we do.
Lady of the Lake says hello. I don't know if there's enough available in the pie to assume they're going to be able to get 10 wins. And I think the expectation is 10 wins. I think 8.5 is closer to the reality of the situation. And because there's been so much talk and buzz about it, there's just going to be like an impulse. Yeah, of course they're going to go over 8.5. You mentioned about those teams not being better. A lot of those teams, I'm not positive they're worse.
Right.
Fair. I mean, if you could know one stat right now about LSU to predict their season, I think it would be the number of games Sam Levitt starts. Like, if you tell me he starts 12 games, I think LSU's going 9-3 or better.
You don't think Longstreet would be able to step in and have some of the same success that Chambliss did?
No.
Obviously, wildly different experiences.
No, not to that same level. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't think so.
I'm just thinking about like Lane pulling his back up off the bench, throwing him in there, and then being able to take off and hit the ground running.
That's fair. It's a pretty QB friendly system, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about what? I like that question. What stat would you want to know if you could predict right now?
How many points are they scoring?
Because video game. I mean, what if they're out there scoring 38, 39 points per game?
Then they'll be 9-3.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah, that will be. What do you? And last question here. We will do this a lot deeper when we do the win total picks later in the summer. Do you like that off week before Ole Miss?
There's no off week before Ole Miss.
There isn't?
They're playing Louisiana Tech.
Okay. There we go. We were missing one on the graphic. I was like, wait a second. So, hey, don't
No,
say
that's yeah. If you use a certain website, they only have 11 games on their schedule for some reason. But if you go to fbsschedules.com, they have all 12.
Gotcha. Good to note. All right, let's keep it going. Looking at our first-year coaches, we will go next in order. And hello, it's the Ole Miss Rebels. Pete Golding has a couple of wins as a head coach thanks to the Rebels playoff run. But now he's going to be the first year as the full-time head coach, loses a couple of assistants to that LSU team we just discussed, gains a couple of assistants from that LSU program we just discussed. Trinidad Chambliss gets the favorable ruling from the courts. Bud, what's going to be what does 7.5 tell you about this Ole Miss team?
Well, it tells me they had to add a real non-conference game, right? And
that the schedule rotated. This is a great 9 games and the schedule rotated because for 2 years they played an 8-game schedule that, in my opinion, was a favorable SEC draw. So now you're adding an extra game and rotating on opponents that you have straight up missed for the last 2 seasons.
Oh, I mean, look, Ole Miss was pretty blatantly naked about it, right? They were trying to schedule to go 4-0 in the non-conference every year. Like, they were not trying to challenge themselves, and like Kiffin treated some of those games as a joke, right? Now they have to play Louisville, and to your point, they got the harder draw. I mean, you get Georgia at Oklahoma, at Texas, LSU, at the Swamp. I mean, at Vandy, okay, like that's probably not as tough this year as it was with Pavia. You get Mississippi State at home, that should be a win. You get Auburn at home, again, that should be a win. There's a decent floor, but man, there's not a lot of like road games here. How many of these games that they play away from home? So Louisville, which is neutral, at Florida, at Vandy, at Texas, at Oklahoma, do you feel good about?
Not many.
Yeah, like even Louisville's not a lock.
Right.
Yeah, there's only 4 road games or true road games on there, and you don't feel great about any of them.
I mean, Vandy's the most winnable of the 5 that are away from home, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, they had a great year last year, considering, how far they got, everything that went on off the field too, just overcoming those distractions. Chambliss was one of the best stories of the season, even before the Lane Kiffin playoff stuff. I have a hard time, regardless of what the schedule is, not seeing that team regress back to the mean quite a bit, because they played well, but they also had a lot of things go their way. So, I mean, you look at the schedule, it's more difficult. I expect, what's the win totals at, 8.5?
Mm-hmm.
For what, Ole Miss?
Yeah, or 7.5, is it?
7.5.
Okay, I think 8-4 is very much possible. I would probably, right now, I'd lean more towards 7-5 as the most likely.
I think just because they brought back a lot in the offensive line, I think there's a chance the defense doesn't drop off. Chambliss is a really good college quarterback. I
He's
think
gonna
I
have to be
lean
special.
I think I lean over, but mainly because I feel pretty good about the home games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Missouri is taking a step forward.
But Vanderbilt, Missouri, in the middle of LSU, Florida, and Texas on the other side of it, that's tough. I mean, I don't know if you've heard, SEC is a meat grinder, man. It's tough. 9-3 in that conference is like 11-1 anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the win exchange is crazy.
9-3 in the SEC is like 17-0 in the NFL.
You think this defense will be solid?
They got some really nice pieces. I mean, Eccles is really good. Who's the kid who's kind of like a hybrid edge rusher they have is really quick. I don't think the secondary is going to be worse, and it was an issue at times last year. I think it probably improved. So I think they're a dangerous team.
Florida? Oh, go ahead, Tom. Anything else on Ole Miss?
No.
Okay. Florida Gators. John Summerall era begins with a win total of 7.5. The Gators are potentially favored in 10 games. That's as first heard and first reported here on the Cover 3 podcast. A huge part of this, you've got to think, is going to be, as we mentioned during the quarterback battles, Aaron Philo, Buster Faulkner, them hitting the ground running. Tom, you said that you can already feel here in March that you're going to be way over your skis on the Gators. How far? Where do we push this win total in the Tom numbers?
I mean, this number is so bad that the sports gambling industry in America might be dead come December, because they will be broke from the billions of dollars we've all made betting the over on the Florida Gators here. This is, I mean, like, that schedule, all things considered, okay, give me. Like, if I'm an SEC team, that's the schedule I'm asking for most seasons. Like, I'm getting Auburn, Ole Miss, okay, but I think they're coming down. Missouri is never, like, they're going to be a 7-5-ish kind of team. They're not you got them at home. You've got South Carolina at home. Yeah. You get Georgia and Jacksonville, but you get Oklahoma at home. You get Vandy at home. Your road slate is Auburn, Texas, and Kentucky. Like, Texas, going to be very, very tough. You don't feel like going on the road and beating Auburn and Kentucky is awful. You feel like you could beat Florida State, considering Florida State seems to be punting on 2026 to begin with. Who knows what condition? That's probably going to be an interim coach. Let's be honest. By the time 11/27 comes around, like, I feel great about this team. I think that if you don't go over, it's a serious disappointment. And, John Summerall's not on the hot seat, but you're like, oh, we might have messed up again.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, they go 7-5 with this schedule and that much raw talent. I think Florida fans have real reason to be pissed.
Cocktail parties in Atlanta this year?
Yeah. It's at the Benz.
They're renovating.
And then next year it's Tampa, right?
Yeah, I think they're renovating the Everbank Stadium, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say,
so it's a pseudo road game. It's not a true road game, but it's going to be pretty close to it.
I feel like we have enough games in Atlanta. Let's not make that a permanent.
Danny, I hear you getting a lot of oof.
Oh, Dan,
jump on
I've
board.
seen this story before, though. We get all hyped up about the Florida Gators and the expectations and how great they're going to be this year, and I am buying into it too. But my goodness, you better beat Auburn first. Like, before we start chalking those up for W's, it's going to be a game that Florida Gator fans think they should win easily. And that is not going to be easy. Maybe it is, but I just think you've got the start to the season is so critical, because I could see this team getting hot and becoming trendy and everybody falls in love with them. And maybe they keep that ball rolling and they're sort of one of the stories of the college football season. But what if they drop 2-2 and they're going into Missouri with a must-win game, that 5th game of the season? Like, I could see either one unfolding. I'd lean towards the bullish side, but I've just seen them not handle the expectations that well before. But I think Summerall's different. I think he'll have them geared up. I think he'll have them ready.
I mean, you could start 3-3 and still, I think, have a great chance to go over.
Oh, 3-3.
Well, yeah, because the
Right.
final 3 games are
Oklahoma in the swamp. I think Florida's favored. At Kentucky, Vandy, and at FSU.
Although if they're 3-3, I don't know if they're definitely favored against Oklahoma.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But it's still a winnable game, you would think.
If they don't, no. They need to be 4-2 after 6 games, and 5-1 is legitimately in the cards. 3-3 might still be able to get you going over, but there's no way that you write 3-3 without at least one really, really disappointing home loss. And this is like coming from the same fans that were screaming at Billy Napier with like vile boos all throughout the last season and a half. So yeah, I would.
The only thing I'll say, and we saw this last year across the SEC, is we were really banking on 2 quarterbacks, whoever wins the battle, whether it's Philo or Tramel Jones, who haven't played much. Like, I know Philo's played a little bit, Tramel's played a little bit, but they're still like a great unknown of how these quarterbacks are going to play. That could be something where they underwhelm. If neither of those quarterbacks are good, then it's, like we're back to square one for Florida.
I mean, I'm trying, like, this is a great day. I mean, my baseball team's playing tonight in a game that counts. I'm going golfing as soon as we're done with this show for the first time all year.
Let's go.
Here comes my good friend letting me down. What happened to Gator Danny? Where did he go?
He might be back.
I mean,
he might be back. If they start off 4-0, 5-0, I'm back.
I'm trying to bond with the bros over our Gator love, and here comes Danny pouring cold water on my head, trying to make me feel bad. The one guy I thought I could rely on.
So, we talked about that Auburn game. That Auburn game is going to be on the Plains in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Byron Brown, Alex Golish. Vegas win total has the Auburn Tigers at 6.5.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah,
very much.
I think Auburn fans would say that feels fair. Have you gotten a sense otherwise?
No, I think if they go 7-5, I think they're a step in the right direction. We're laying a foundation. Because I think their expectations are reasonable.
When was the last time
Auburn.
we were ever able to say that about Auburn?
They've been beaten down pretty good here recently.
But you do get like a sense from that fan base where they're just kind of like, no, we know where we are right now.
You lose Singleton and Coleman, you're going to have some readjusting of expectations.
You got dumped.
Did you guys see the? I hate when this happens. Did you see the video of Byron Brown throwing a ball in practice and everybody's like, oh, it was like sidearm. He kind of flipped it out there. It wasn't. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what'd you think he was going to come in and be like, I don't know what like the expectation was. You just think you're going to see a Mahomes rubber arm cannon down the field? Like, that's not exactly who he is.
No. The large man who runs.
Yeah. Right. Like,
and you can
believe that he is an upgrade over Jackson Arnold without believing that he is a top 2/3 SEC quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Overreacting to the first 15-minute viewing period video is
right.
It's
all-time college football.
Yeah, let's go. Including, what was it? Was it the hype video with DJU that you called out, Danny, that you're like, they should not have put that on the internet?
Correct.
Yeah, I think 6.5 feels really right. Obviously, I think that's good for Alex Golish. Who's going to be able to walk in and try to lay a foundation. He's got a quarterback he can trust. They can kind of start piecing the other parts together, at least in terms of building a successful team. Schedule's got some big time challenges, as it always does for Auburn. But even under, I don't think is panic button. Unlike, how about this? Unlike Florida, where I think 7 wins is a little bit of, oh no. I don't even think 6-6 is panic. I think you should get to a bowl game. but I think that even 6-6 is not a smash the panic button. Lawnmower. Yeah.
Lawnmower. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's a blower.
The
I know that
Kentucky
sound.
Wildcats get Will Stein in as their next head coach. Over under a win total of 4.5. That is not in line with Kentucky is going to be the next Indiana.
What? Sorry, I had to unmute during the blower, but what?
Remember that? It was like Will Stein. He got a couple transfers, and then all of a sudden you're like, I tell you what, Will Stein. You know, if you're looking,
I do not recall this.
Indiana. Yeah, this might be. Am I
on
crazy?
this show?
No. I would just say the conversation was a lot of juice. There was a lot of juice behind the Will Stein outlook. Am I wrong
Basketball
about that?
school suddenly becomes football powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like they were going to be able to.
I
pull
almost
all
felt
these-
bad for him. Like it was getting too much made of. It's like let's tone things down a little bit, or else the poor guy's going to go 6-6 or 5-7, and everybody's gonna be like, "What happened to the 8 or 9 wins?"
There's also like, again, the comparison is stupid, but like the other thing that just kind of drives it home is like Kurt Signetti came to Indiana with like a decade worth of head coaching experience. Well, Stein hasn't been a head coach yet, so
And
it's
like a half a roster of
Yeah,
players.
Much
that he
more
came
difficult
with.
schedule. If ever there is an argument to bring back the significance of the February signing day, it's articles and arguments like that. Like we got to feed the content machine, y'all. This is we reap what we sow. We got rid of signing day, moved it up, and now we replace it with Kentucky's next Indiana.
Kentucky can be the next Indiana. I will give them some credit there. It's like Kentucky can be the next Indiana was the discussion. Again, I'm going to go back to the pie. If you're going to get a bigger piece, who are you taking it from? And in the SEC right now, for a lot of these teams that are looking for a step forward, I don't know who you're taking it from. So I don't have Kentucky up to the par of like Kentucky's going to have to play LSU. They're going to have to play Alabama. They're going to have to play Texas A&M, and that's in the first half of the season. Okay, so let's see if it lightens up a little bit. Well, you've got to play Oklahoma. You got to play Tennessee. You've got to play Florida. I mean, what are we talking about for coin flip games? A Clark Lee Vanderbilt program that's ahead of you, maybe with a better quarterback. You're talking about Missouri, which is clearly ahead of you in the development process. I mean, I can think Will Stein is a good hire, but I am not about to think we're going to have a 1-year turnaround here in 2026.
Okay, some positives here. They did go out and spend real money on guys who have like actually played high-level college football on the offensive line. So
Right.
I think there's a pretty decent hit rate on that type of player that they went and got. You know, we know there were other programs, you know, who wanted some of the quarterbacks they went out and got, like Kenny Minchie. So, like, they did spend some money. Is that enough when you're facing all these other teams that already spend money and have already been spending money? Probably not.
Oh,
but
yeah.
there's some positives here. And like, just because Stein's a first-year coach doesn't mean he's going to suck. It probably just means the variance is incredible.
Okay, one last one for first-year hires, then we'll hit a break. Arkansas, Ryan Silverfield, 4.5.
Sweet 16, baby, 2 years in a row.
Baseball's still really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Baseball's still really good. Got a little KJ Jackson, got a little AJ
Realistic
Hill.
expectations. I mean, that's
We have not seen not sarcasm here. We've not seen Silverfield coach in the underdog role.
Correct.
Right. So maybe he's better at that. Some people are.
That's true. Offensive line coach under Norvell, right? And offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any? I
don't love your first FBS game being at Utah, and then you come home to play Georgia.
Yeah.
And then you get a nice week off against Tulsa. But Tulsa's doing some stuff. Like, I don't think Tulsa's going to go in Arkansas and win, but that's a hell of a sandwich spot.
I mean, they really ruined Oklahoma State last year.
Right. And then you go to Texas A&M and host Tennessee.
I hope Saturday, September 5th is a beautiful, stunning 73 degree day in Fayetteville so Arkansas fans can come out watch their team beat North Alabama by 100, and just have something for this football season. Because after that, yeah.
Back half of the schedule, if I can make the argument, is friendly, right? At Vandy is going to be one of your easier road games you can draw in the SEC. You're still an underdog there, but like it's not like you're going to play at Georgia. You host Missouri. You're at Auburn, which is a high variance team lined at 6.5. You host South Carolina, which, could be on total quit watch by then. Then you're at Texas and you host LSU. And again, I don't think that they're favored in either of those games, clearly, but like given the expectations on both those teams, if one of those teams goes south, it's not crazy to think that like maybe they mail it in.
Sure.
Like you could finish 3-3 in your final 6.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the problem is Tom's wishing for this beautiful 70-degree day. I just think that's a high of 93 against North Alabama.
Yeah.
I think you're roasting out there.
I know. That's why I'm praying for a 75-degree sunny day for them.
I know. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Look, we're not trying to laugh at Arkansas. 4.5 might even be an ambitious number. The amount of time it will take for Ryan Silverfield to put in place what it takes for Arkansas to take real steps forward will be more than just this season. So we'll see. It's a tough road to hoe, but we appreciate the positivity, Bud, in terms of potentially getting us a strong finish. Coming up on the other side, let's take a look at the teams at the very top, and even more specifically, the championship odds for the Southeastern Conference. All that and more next.
This isn't just combat. It's cinema.
Ready or not, here I come. Let's go! Are you not entertained?
The new home of UFC, Paramount Plus.
I need to do some research on North Alabama, but North Alabama money line might be a good week 1 sprinkle.
Ooh.
This is called Chip takes the rest of the year off for this segment and like recaptures, what is that, like 8 minutes a segment, 10 weeks remaining. It's like over an hour of reclaimed value. Smart.
All right, let's take a look at the SEC title odds. For those wondering, Texas is at the top of the SEC win total board at 9.5. Georgia is at the top at 9.5 as well. And when you look at the SEC Conference Championship odds, they are right there, plus 300 for Texas, plus 390 at Georgia. Then we take a step to our next tier, the LSU team we just discussed. Texas A&M sitting there at 8-1, plus 800 right behind LSU. And then Alabama. Then we take another jump down into Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Florida, Tennessee, and Missouri. Bud, when you're looking at these, you can pick a team or go big picture on this one. What stands out about the way the teams at the top, the teams that are going to be contending for both a spot in Atlanta, but also an SEC championship? What do these odds tell you about that race?
So I'm a little surprised that the split between 2 and 3 is not larger. I kind of think Texas and Georgia are a little bit bigger gap. But again, like we just talked about it, if Leavitt is healthy, then he could be the best quarterback in the league. I don't know that he is, but he could be. I think it's like within his range of possible outcomes. A&M, I guess you really can't have them lower given the schedule and given they did do a nice job in the portal. Like there feels like a lot of compression in these odds. They're going to do good business on these high margin for the books on some of these to be kind here to the sponsor. Texas and Georgia have to play Florida. So if you really believe in that team, you might have the head-to-head.
Oh, you're talking about like Florida as a dark horse play at 20-1?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Although I would not bet 20-1. No. That feels very nerfed.
Are you suggesting that maybe these implied probabilities are not adding up correctly?
Possibly.
It has happened before.
Hey, listen, it's a business,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is a business. Tom, what do you see when you're looking at this board? Obviously, Texas, this is the year, right? You're going all in. You're making your coaching changes. Arch is back. Huge portal class. This is we are going to right all the wrongs. Arch himself said, I don't want to be playing in the Cheez-It Bowl again. So,
I mean, I don't love any of these, but and this isn't to say these are the teams I think are most capable. I just feel like based on what I'm looking at, the two that I would most want is Texas and LSU.
So Texas at the very top, and then maybe LSU. What is the Georgia hesitation from?
Just I don't think the odds are. I just don't think they're the right number. It's not really hesitation, but there are just I have more question marks about Georgia's offense than I do Texas's.
That's
pretty
fair.
much is what it comes down to.
That's very.
And I also I feel like I feel kind of safer about LSU's offense than I do Georgia's.
DK, what about Georgia at 9.5?
I mean, I
get-
think it's the top. I mean, they can't go
Right.
10.5, you know. I mean, their schedule still is pretty tough, but I think I agree with Bud that Texas and Georgia are sort of separated from the field. You feel most confident about. Both have returning quarterbacks, both played really good, both have coaches, defenses you can trust. Like, I think those two are the cream of the crop for the SEC.
Bud, where are you at with the Dogs?
So I think the quarterback gives them a high floor, right? Because he's consistent and all the platitudes. A winner. He is a veteran. Like he's. I don't think he's all of a sudden going to collapse. I don't know that there's much more he can do physically, but I think he's somebody that a lot of teams would like to have. Schedule's friendly, man.
11-1.
Very friendly.
Yeah, like
you calling it now? 11-1.
11-1.
Favored in 11 or 12, right?
Yeah. I mean, could lose at Alabama, could lose to Florida. Oklahoma at home, I don't know, maybe, but gosh, I think I'm going to give the Dogs all the rest of them.
That's betting a lot on Mateer's thumb being the only holdback in his game. I think if you think OU's going in there winning that,
just in terms of opponent quality, those are the first ones that sort of rattle off. So it is juiced at 9.5 when we pulled it. So you are going to have to pay a price to be able to get that, but this one might be find different ways to attack it. I think that for Georgia, this is things are shaping up nicely from the schedule perspective. And I just am not, even with questions about the offense, I'm just not going to downgrade the whole roster talent. Man, Kirby continues to talk that talk, about culture and we like our guys, and he either becomes the foil for Lane Kiffin, right? Mm-hmm. And just sort of a lot of the more transient and transactional programs, or he's wrong and the transient transactional programs are the ones getting all the wins and Georgia's player development doesn't show up on Saturdays like a lot of us think that it will. We'll see. That to me is kind of the operative question about Georgia. It's easy for me to be excited about this idea that Kirby Smart's doing it in almost an old school way. But if they lose, Georgia's not going to want them to do it in an old school way anymore. They're going to say, go do what Lane did. Let's put together our own $50 million roster. But I like the team. I like the schedule. I do think this is a group that is playing in Atlanta, that is playing in the college football playoff. And if I was to take a stab at an alt, I think it's a team that can go 11-1.
Yeah, they're clearly on the short list for the national title. I think if you look at some of their inactivity in the portal, I don't really think that was a lack of funds. I think that was, hey, we like a lot of what's on our roster. We're going to work ahead to extend those guys and retain them.
Yep. All right. Anything else on the Dogs or the Longhorns? No. Tom's itching. You see this? This moment right here, Tom's about to jump through StreamYard and like, I'm going to hit end stream soon, Chip. If you don't wrap this up. Okay.
My
We will
driver's
be back.
literally right over my shoulder. We're ready to go over here.
We will be back Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, getting interactive. That means we are taking your listener questions. That means we are diving into the big old bag of mail, some YouTube comments as well. Looking forward to it. Come and join us at youtube.com/cover3. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fernelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow him at Danny Cannell. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See y'all.